I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Luqra Payments. I've been in the payment space for over a decade. For the most of that decade, I've specialized in health and wellness. Started way back in the day helping merchant services that were in the nutraceutical space. About a decade ago, that was kind of the big first thing into the health and wellness space was like Garcinia cambogia and ashwagandha and whatnot. But modern medicine has evolved quite far from them into the telemed space now. We have legal weight loss. We have lots of other prescription drugs that are changing people's life, as well as a lot that we hope that are on the horizon to being legalized. So we'll talk more about payment processing, but I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Suzanne Ferree, and I have a functional medicine practice in Atlanta, Georgia. I have 3 nurse practitioners who work with me, and they're amazing, and they are holding down the fort while I'm away, learning here. And we use a payment processing system in our practice. This has evolved over time. Initially, our electronic medical record had a little bit of payment processing that we did, and then we needed to use a bigger and more robust system over time. And it needed to include things like being able to resource, where did the source come from? Who paid that? Which was the provider that was responsible for that payment? So if one of my nurse practitioners, say nurse practitioner number 1, prescribed so-and-so to the patient, we needed to be able to attribute that to her so that she could get bonused based on her income. So being able to have a big library of resources that we sell, the products that we sell, as well as being able to have being able to attribute it to a different provider based on who prescribed. So that was really helpful for us.
Got it. So you needed a custom-built business custom-built processing that had compliance built into it, satisfied multiple needs in your business. We've had so many people come by our booth so far, and their first, their first reaction is like, "Why is a payments company at a health expo?" Which I love this question. It kind of leads into the first question that we'll get into. Why is payment processing important in the medical health space? Payment processing is the backbone of any business. How you collect money and being able to guarantee that is as important as guaranteeing growth and scalability for your business. So in the health and wellness space in particular, we're heavily regulated, by the FDA, by local pharmacy boards. The FDA is changing regulation here and there. Sometimes it's nuanced, sometimes it's not, but I think most people would agree it's pretty nuanced. On the other side of it, on the payment side, we have Visa and MasterCard and the card brands as a whole that self-regulate. They make their own rules and regulations as to what can and can't be sold, how it can be sold, how it can be marketed. And a lot of companies that have already built their functions on Stripe or other like Square, other processors, they're getting caught in this crossfire where their current payments companies, they're not bothering to understand this nuance in the space. So they're closing people overnight. They're holding money. They're not bothering to educate themselves. And Luqra Payments, we've been in this space for over a decade, and we've been educating ourselves every day of every week on these changes so that we can protect our customers, so that you don't wake up with your account closed, so that we're keeping up to speed with our own HIPAA compliance, our own SOC 2. We work with dozens of EMRs. We also partner with a lot of EMRs as well. We partner with functional medicine CRMs, ordering portals, as well as just direct medical facilities, brick and mortar retail, as well as online.
So do you guys so we've had in the last month, we used to use a software, I guess it was Stripe, I can't remember if it was Stripe or Square, I always get mixed up, because we've used them all. We've been through a bunch of them. And they either didn't allow us to export all of our parts, or they didn't allow us to attribute, or the percentage was too high, or most recently they kicked us off because we sell peptides in our practice. So tell me about what your guys can offer regarding that.
In terms of rates, we never get beat out by rates, especially when we're at expos like this, in a small format where we get to have great conversations with you guys. We just want you on our portfolio to protect you and to keep modern medicine growing, keep functional medicine, regenerative medicine growing. So rates, we'll always beat Stripe, we'll always beat Square, don't worry about that. In terms of functionality, we have pretty much the same functionality of them, minus maybe a few integrations here and there, but we are an open API platform, so if anybody wanted to work with us enough, You can. We have multiple sponsoring banks as well, so we have a lot of support behind us on the compliance side. Really, it comes down to your bank and how your bank wants to risk reputation or take chances here and there. We have phenomenal relationships with our banks because we've been doing the health and wellness space so long. So functionality in terms of like Stripe versus Luqra, you're not going to lose much. You may likely gain functionality like ACH services or banking services. If you wanted that all-in-one platform, we have that for you. Lastly, the most important thing you said, you've experienced this, and we've heard it over a dozen times today. You had a Stripe, you got closed on Stripe, likely because you mentioned you have peptides. Well, peptides is kind of a catch-all buzzword in functional health right now, but peptide has a specific terminology from Visa and MasterCard, whereas maybe we're talking about pharmaceutical drugs that are 503, 503A, 503B approved peptides, like NAD+, or the GLPs, right? Those we process for every day. We have an enterprise relationship with LegitScript, and we've co-authored white papers with them in how to sell these medications and remain compliant and abide by all regulations on both the card brand side, U.S. regulation and FDA regulation. We've never had that situation where suddenly we wake up and we have to close a bunch of our merchants.
So is there a regulation around using peptides? I guess so. Tell me about that.
Well, you have peptides that are still considered just small chain peptides that have not been approved approved as a drug. These peptides are still either in a testing stage, or they can't be marketed. What we'll say, certain peptides can't be marketed for human use. We always like to say, we believe in the right for doctors to practice medicine. When you're practicing medicine in person, there's different regulations from the card brand side versus you selling peptides online for human use that are not authorized to be sold for humans and marketed towards humans.
In our practice, it would be for peptides that are these have been from a compounding pharmacy. It's a prescription that's been sent to a compounding pharmacy. The medication is sent then to our office for the patients or directly to the patient for their direct consumption, based on research that I've done, realizing this might be specifically beneficial to that particular patient.
Right. So personalized, right? So we believe in personalized medication. When it's coming from a compounding pharmacy and a doctor is prescribing it, for us on the payment side, we no longer call those peptides. We call them medicine, pharmaceutical drugs. You're classified differently as a merchant when you're selling something via a compound pharmacy when it's going direct to patient. That means it's going as a kit to be injected or sublingual or whatever the method of delivery is, versus when we say in our industry, peptides are lyophilized products that are not designed and compounded for someone.
You're talking about research.
Research, yes. Research.
Which is not what we use at all.
Right. I understand there's a nuance on language here. Like from Visa and MasterCard, peptides as a scary word, right? And on the functional medicine side, peptides is what everybody understands as that compounded product that they're getting.
Right. So we use our payment processing for everything. I mean, we have membership levels, so we have 3 tiers of membership. So we use payment processing systems for our tiers of membership. We use it for our IV therapies. If you get an IV that's 50 milligrams versus an IV that's 55 or 100 milligrams, they might be a different price. And so each of those is considered a separate category in our file of offerings. And so even if I was to do 1 injection versus 2 injections, those are going to be 2 different categories of payments that someone's going to. So we probably I bet we have 600 items on our, I don't know what you call it.
We call it like a SKU upload list. So so our software was built to work with grocery stores that have upwards of 150,000 line items.
I don't have that.
So at 600, we're talking about less than an hour's work for us to upload an Excel spreadsheet. You would give us unique identifiers or SKU numbers for those, and inside of your system, you're going to see each one of those with your unit price, your ML or MG, your product name, if there's any upsells you want with it. So if you selected this one and you want upsells, you could have that. So your staff team is saying, okay, you bought this, let's add some B12 to it, whatever, however you want that, we're building it the way that you
And then
want.
tell me about reporting systems, because that's the other thing that's really helpful for us is being able to go back and say, how many of these did we sell? Because I want to be able to manage my inventory. I want to be able to bonus my staff members based on what they're bringing in. So tell me about your reporting systems.
Sure. So I'm not sure if maybe you have a CRM right now that does a lot of this tracking for you. Like a lot of the clients we work with, they're already using Go High Level or some other CRM for tracking. You can either continue using your CRM for tracking, and our gateway will speak to it. So every time this product is sold, the gateway will send that information back to the CRM, and it will deduct it from your inventory and add it to its reporting. If you don't have that, our gateway does have a form of that built into it. It's our inventory management. So it's going to identify inventory usage. You can pull inventory reporting on a daily basis and have it sent to you, or a monthly basis, whatever you'd like. Essentially, you would have a user in this platform as well, where it would say like, so-and-so sold 4 of these, 6 of these. And then ultimately what you would do is you would do the bonusing on the back end. Our system won't account for bonusing. So we're really just collecting the money, storing your inventory, but also telling you who sold it as well. It's employee management and inventory management. It's like a part of our system.
So any future plans for adding AI evaluations of that to just sort of generate reports for us, or say, hey, we're noticing you're not selling as much so-and-so, or we're noticing market is for IVs is really $135 instead of $110. Is there anything like that in the works for y'all?
These are great ideas. My chief innovation officer's here with me, and I'm going to tell him right away that we need to get on the AI usage for that in particular. We're currently using AI for risk in underwriting management. So as a full service processor, we're solely responsible for approving merchant accounts. There's no shadow underwriting or secondary review. We're also, in our industry, we deal with fraud on a daily basis. People coming in with stolen identities, people taking accounts over through simulated fraud. So right now we are using AI for fraud and risk management. We're not using it for inventory and employee management. That's great. We'd love to be able to offer that feedback, and obviously we have all the data to send it to you. So I'll bring that up to our team.
Sort of like a fractional CFO.
Yeah, that would be great.
AI on the back end. That would be a nice sell.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to get in touch with you all and get with your services, how would they make that happen?
They can go to our website, Luqra, Luqra.com, and they can set up a time to speak with us there. We'll also be sending out an email to all the attendees here, so they'll have all of our contact information via an email, as well as all the exhibitors. We'll get some contact information from us.
And for anybody who's on Nucleus Pro or a member on New BioAge, is there access to that through the New BioAge website?
I'm not too sure, but I know that Frank and Leonard, they do have a link to pass out to anybody that's a client or a colleague of New BioAge.
Excellent.
We actually started that program where they've been sending me people that need help on the payment side for quite some time now. And they had their own experience with a Stripe, overnight, no questions asked shutdown, and that's how we began our relationship.
I do have a question. What device do you have in the office? What would it look like for the payment processing?
Yeah, so we have about 5 different terminals to choose from that all have slightly varying functionality, or maybe you just want a special color. We have different colored ones. We have some in metal, some in plastic. A lot of these have, employee and inventory management built onto them, these smaller devices. And then they can, if you want, they can feed back to a full point of sale. We use the newest technology. It's all the latest Android and Microsoft softwares. The newest, coolest looking technology. I don't know how to explain it on verbally, but they're beautiful machines. We usually give them out to our clients in the medical space too. We don't charge for them.
My office has sort of a nice aesthetic. It's a medical spa sort of vibe, even though we're mostly medicine and not much aesthetics. So that kind of going with my aesthetic of the office would be nice.
We think it's so the latest one that we just released about a week ago, it's like a polished gunmetal bronze, like with some bronze in it. It's honestly one of the coolest point of sales I've ever seen, which usually people don't quite take a lot of thought into what a point of sale is going to look like. That's why we have just a lot of black point of sales. We went with a finished gunmetal bronze, and it's beautiful.
Is there anything that would be required for someone to start using? So, for example, I remember one of the times there was I had to get on the phone several times with, I guess I had to give you access to my credit. You had to get a credit score, right? So I had to unfreeze my credit. And then I had to answer a bunch of questions
all
on the
kinds of
phones.
stuff.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I do like to tell people that when you're applying for a merchant account, it's the same as applying for a car loan or a personal loan. In the payments world, when we deposit money to your bank account that you've collected from patients, we actually haven't physically received that money. So we are front running you this deposit, which is why in a way it's a loan. So yes, there's always a bit of underwriting in our industry.
Helpful.
However, since we've been in the health and wellness space for a decade, we're very good. We have like templates where it's like, if you're a medical clinic, just send us this. If you're telemed, just send us this. If you're a pharmacy, just send us this. And it's very like bullet point, here's what we need to get you going. Something that people love about us is we only pull a soft credit. We don't do a hard credit pool. And if you've been around for a while, we find you online and you're a medical clinic, you're approved, within an hour or two.
Right.
We're not, unless you're new, and we kind of want to make sure you have some types of starting funds or at least a business license. That's when we might ask for a little bit more. But if you've been around for a while, we're talking about an hour or less, and you have a merchant account with Luqra.
Okay, great. That seems really easy. That's exciting to get to do. Well, I'm excited. Thanks so much for letting me know about you.
Thank you for your time, Suzanne.
Yeah.